listening to Quantum Revenue Expansion with your host, Ursula Menchez. Let's go.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, the podcast. Super excited to have all of you back today. And we're hanging out with one of my dear friends, one of my soul sisters from California, Mobile Mary Barnett. And today we're going to talk about how to make money with your phone. Doesn't that sound fun? And Mary's been doing this for a while. So she's one of the experts in this space. And I have a lot of questions for Mary because I feel like the world has shifted and like, what are people doing with their phones? Are they reading their texts? Yes, they are. We'll talk about that. So Mary, I just want to say first, welcome to Quantum Revenue.
Thank you. This is awesome. I know we have so many stories we probably can't tell on air of all our adventures on the speaking circuit and
yes,
such good times. And everyone who listens to your podcast knows that you're an amazing person, but I can attest behind the scenes, behind the curtain, she is an amazing, so I love you and I'm so excited to be on your show.
Embarrassing me. This is blushing. Thank you. And I feel the same about you. And I was saying like, we kind of were like Thelma and Louise when we took that road trip to Las Vegas. Remember that? That was fun. And
remember the bathroom without stalls?
Yes. We were scared.
We're scared.
We survived. That was a
you got a pretty mouth.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's, and that's one of the things I love about you. We're going to have fun. And, the world needs more fun. I feel like as a world, we've forgotten how to have fun. We've forgotten how to laugh. So we're going to bring some lightness to everyone today.
Yes.
That was definitely
life is short, baby. Let's do it.
Awesome. So before we do that, really quickly, my team always wants me to do the housekeeping stuff. So if you haven't yet, go to ursulainc.co, the homepage, and you'll find our course, Quantum Revenue Expansion, the masterclass. It's recorded, it's ready to go. There's 3 parts. Number 1, we talk about how do you create a quantum revenue goal? Number 2, we talk about how to get your marketing and your packages and all the things in alignment with your quantum revenue goal. Because I think now, and we're talking about marketing day, but I feel like people try to do so much in marketing when you'd be well served to do a couple key things with that. And then finally, at the end of it, we talk about how to collapse time and get there even faster. How do you take a quantum leap? Like if you really wanted 2x your sales, what would that look like? And we've been helping clients do that even during the pandemic. I know some of our clients are like, you're never going to believe this. I'm going to have my best year ever during this interesting time. And we want that for everyone. So it's free. Just go to ursulainc.co, grab the masterclass and enjoy. All right. With that, let me tell you about the amazing, the very cool, very smart, like Mary knows about a lot of stuff. Mary Barnett, also known as Mobile Mary in the industry, is a text marketing and social media expert. And her company, Another Brilliant Idea Incorporated, helps business owners and restaurants use social media to grow a database that they own so that they can reach their best customers offline as well as online, giving them what they want instantly and on demand to increase sales and brand loyalty. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this whole space. But anyway, before we get there, I would love to hear your story. Just like I knew, and you and your, maybe people don't know, like you and your husband do the business together, you lead the business, you're the CEO. What was the story that brought you to starting your own business and staying in this crazy entrepreneurial world?
Right. It's a special kind of crazy, right? That when we're entrepreneurial, there's some kind of like unbridled enthusiasm of unrequited love of independence that keeps you going when normally you'd be like, just give it up, you're like, no, it's going to be great. So back in 88, actually, back in the last century when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was actually a loan executive at United Way, and I was running all their like fundraising for, I was part of a team of loan executives, and I just loved it. I loved like creating promotions and organizing events and helping them market and get, raise more money, obviously, for United Way. And one of my clients at the end of that program said, well, hey, what do you do full time? Because obviously all loan executives were kind of loaned for their companies. And I worked for Beckman Instruments and, very, very glamorous job, marketing assistant. And I said, well, why? What do you need? And she's like, well, we have this big bureau conference coming up. And I thought maybe like you could be a consultant for it. I'm like, I am 24 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, well, let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you. The elevator doors close. I like start jumping up and down. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So like I drive home. Me and Steve were married, I think not even a year. I said, oh my gosh, she's asking me to be. He's like, don't call right away. Like make him look like you're busy. Yes, Steve's so funny. He's like, seriously, like wait. And we had bought each other a Mac Plus for our wedding gift to each other because we were still in college. And that's so romantic, right? You didn't even have a hard drive. You had a floppy disk and a program, and you'd switch them back and forth. So I took those 2 hours and I made letterhead, like, let's come up with a company name. My maiden name was Alexander and his name was Barnett. And I had a degree in communication. So it's Alexander Barnett Communications, ABC. Ooh, that sounds good. Like I just made it up. Like, oh my God. So then I called and I'm like, you know what? I think I could move a few things around and squeeze you in. And they're like, great. It pays $8,000, which I thought was $1 million. I'm like,
Right.
like trying not to breathe, And she's like, and just bring, because I still had to give notice to Beckman. So she says, okay. And, when you're available, bring a contract and a PO and we'll get started. I'm like, what the heck is a PO? Like, I didn't want to ask because I was like, I had to be like all super fancy, right? I'm, super big, successful businesswoman already. I'm 24 years old. Right. And I'm like, okay, so I had to drive down to the library. There was no Uncle Google available. So I drove down. I literally remember to this day walking up to the librarian lady and I'm like, hi, would you use PO in a sentence? Like bring a PO and a contract. Like she was like purchase order. I'm like, are you sure? Because it could be something else. It could be, are they mad at me? PO'd? And she's like, no. So like we went into like the dusty got the book and like literally put on the mimeograph machine, 10 cents. Yeah. And then I literally taped it to the wall and copied it word for word. And that's how I started my business.
In a sentence. That's my favorite line. Okay.
So I thought I was all hot, in my big shoulder pads, my hair in a bun, my little bow tied 1988, hello, Miss TRW, here is my contract and here is my PO. And she's like, fine, stamp, your office is over there. I'm like, okay. So that's how we started our business. So we did like event marketing. It was all based on, conferences and trade shows and service awards. And we did that for basically 20 years, all traditional marketing, direct mail, bulletin, billboards, like everything you would normally do. And then in 2007, the iPhone came out. And one of my clients was Kawasaki at the time, the people who make motorcycles, whose clients happened to be mobile, by the way. So it was after like a dealer meeting and I'll admit, I was a little sassy because we'd had a few drinks and they were popping off saying, oh, the dealers don't even appreciate what we do for them. And they are complaining that we don't bring enough clients to them and blah, blah, they're all. So I'm like, well, how do you bring clients to them? And they're like, whoa, so they're just popping off. Well, our agencies do, this and this and this. And I'm like, they're like, oh, we even are using the new service called email. I'm like, ooh, email. That's exciting. I said, but your clients are mobile. Why aren't you marketing them on the mobile device? Like they're carrying it in their pocket. What? I'm like, yeah. Like a flip phone. Everyone has a flip phone and they're literally mobile. Like you could send something like a text to them. I was making it up because I'd read some little article in a podunk industry rag that said this little company was doing like in a gas station. Like, so I was like, why? I don't see why it couldn't happen nationwide. Right.
Yeah.
So a long story short, called the company, said, hey, can I hire you to help me build something to do a nationwide campaign? They're like, sure. So it took 2 years of the agencies telling me, you can't do this, you can't do that, and I'm like, you're not the boss of me. Like I wouldn't say it out loud, but maybe a 6. So I'm like, you're not the boss of me. So I would call them up. I'm like, okay, now we have to make it so it does this and this and this. So after 2 years, 2009, we launched a campaign and drove over 93,000 new customers to their dealerships across the country. And I'm like, this is it. Like I had never gotten that kind of results in 20 years of doing traditional marketing. So I dropped everything and went all in on mobile. And that's how we got into mobile.
And the rest is herstory, right? So you've been crushing it ever since. But I got to go back though. At the beginning of your story, you're like, we were talking about the business and the business name, and you and Steve sitting there and these 20-something-year-olds, and you're like, we just made it up. And I wanted to highlight that, because that's all we do. That's all we do all day long as entrepreneurs, is we make it up. And maybe business owners are like, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I'm like, well, you just get to make it up. So if you could make it up any way you wanted it to, right? Well, how would you make it up? And anyway, that's super powerful. So 93,000 customers. I knew you during this time. I remember you working on this and working on it and working on it. And, cheers to you for perseverance at a time when that was a new thing. So I'm curious, I'm kind of jumping ahead. I'm going to jump around today because I have so many questions for you. How has mobile changed from 2007 till now? Or
well, the difference is when I used to get up on stages, people would, cock their head to the side of the RCA dog that's dating me, but they'd be like, what? Like, I leave my phone at home for emergencies, or we have a family phone we leave plugged into the car. I'm like, okay. I said, there will be a day that you won't leave your house without your cell phone, your keys, your wallet, and your cell phone. Like and people literally be like, no, no. So they're literally, so when you said it blew up, no, it didn't. Like in 2007, like I said, it took 2 years. In the middle of that, my doctor told me I had cancer. I had major surgery in 2008. The market dropped out. We just moved to a new house. We almost lost our house. Like, there was so many struggles, and God opened doors. And one of them was a friend of mine worked for a company that fed the military. And he said, we were donating the service because literally we were almost paying people to use our software. Like, please use it so we can prove it works to everybody, And so he saw, we donated to a little theater company. Our kids were involved, and we were backstage, and he said, do you think you would, you think I could use it to drive Marines into a mess hall? Yes, we can. And again, he just opened the door, but it took 2 years to convince them this would work, right? So that started off the military contracts. And then that credibility gave us the ability to get, corporations, then restaurants, retail stores, associations, things like that. So it's been a rough go because people thought the mobile phone was a fad for some reason at the time. And I'm like, okay, I'll see you in 5 years. Thank you. Good night. Walk off stage. Yeah. But today, the difference with your question is that now, like, it's almost embarrassing. Like, our phones actually even tell us, you've been on the phone 7 hours today. Like, go see your family. Like, it literally is like, this is embarrassing for you. Like, stop looking at your phone, So I'm like, all right, you're right. I even got an ad from Instagram today, like a little new thing in stories that literally told me to set an alarm to take a break. And it like this, I was showing it to Steve, and he's laughing. He goes, oh my God, are they hypnotizing you? Because I think it's right. They want you to stay on it, but they're telling you to take a break.
Right. It's a trick. Steve, I love Steve. Steve's onto them. Steve's onto everybody.
He is. Yeah, he's got it. But that's the thing. So we now literally, I don't walk downstairs without my phone. I don't walk upstairs. I don't walk out to the mailbox without this on my phone. But God forbid I miss a ding or a buzz or whatever. And that's ridiculous. I mean, I'm now telling people, please leave your phone at home. Like, please take a break. Like, enjoy your life. Like, seriously. But the whole point of text marketing is that you're getting people instantly and on demand. And unlike email, which is great for long form information and background, like for newsletters, things like that, email's awesome. And you need to have that email list. But if you want something taken care of quickly, you want that 94 instant open rate, you want somebody at the 90% response rate.
Yeah.
You send a text because people see their text and they want to clear that out. It doesn't, get obnoxious like all the spam. And the government actually created, the FCC created it, the CAN Spam Act, after, email was turned into this nightmare of, remember all those joke emails that we used to get? Oh my Lord.
Yes.
I finally had to tell my brother, please stop sending those to me. Because it was just like, and you see like millions of people on these. I'm like, oh my God. But it created this spam. And so people now distrusted email. Well, the FCC said, well, we're not going to have that for mobile phones. They put high restrictions. So if you can't legally upload a list of mobile numbers, people have to opt in by permission. And that's what you want. You don't want to waste your money on people who don't want what you have. Right. You want people who know, like, and trust you, who want more of what you offer and provide value to them. and nurture that relationship. And that's the cool thing is like Norm at Cheers, again, dating myself. You want people to feel loved. You want this device to be able to say, hey, Ursula, it looks like, you're probably ready for that. Those red bottom shoes. You deserve it.
Right.
Here's a link to buy it today with a little coupon for 10% off because we love you. It's like, aw,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's so true. I mean, there's certain companies that I love getting their texts and I feel loved by them and they're really good at it. And I know you help clients get really good at that. And I have more questions about the text. But before we get there, you said something that struck me. You're like, it didn't blow up right away. The Kawasaki thing blew up for you, but then it was like, no one else was getting it as quickly. And then I remember you got cancer 2008. For all of us who were in the Inland Empire, it was like a bulldozer came through and just plowed us all underground. It was a tough time, right? Someone had lost a business, lost a house, lost all their real estate, like all the things.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember standing in Peggy's backyard. Remember that beautiful home that she had with that beautiful lush, my gosh, her trees. And you telling me that whole story and you were right in the middle of it in 2008. Like, that was, it was a nightmare, but you also persevered, you pivoted. And I think that's the key. I mean, your show's about entrepreneurship. It's taking the time to step back and say, it's okay to take a different direction. And as you said, make something up. We throw things against the wall, see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, I don't know, you learn more through failure than you do through success.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, 2009, this is interesting. And the timeline, that's when Sales Camp was born as the Selling with Intention Intensive was born because Tim and I had to pay 6 mortgages in 1 month and we weren't sure how to do it. And so it was born out of necessity. So I look back at all the things that shifted because of that very interesting time. And by the way, if anyone wants to read about it, it's in Selling with Synchronicity. I tell all the stories of being on my knees and like praying to God, like, what are we supposed to be doing? And one of the things that Tim and I said to each other was like, we just got to get back on purpose. Like, what are we both supposed to be doing? Where are our gifts? Where are we supposed to be? And, we went back. We knew we were getting pulled back to Minnesota. We just knew it wasn't going to happen right away. And then of course, God's like, well, I'm going to give you a baby. And then you're going to no, you have to go back. So it's interesting, like looking back, being in it was painful. And so what kept you going? Like you had all the personal things, you had health challenges, you had the recession happening. Like, what was the thing? I mean, I know you have great faith. And you must have had some kind of vision where the company could still go.
Well, I never think there's another option.
There we go. Okay. Talk about that. Yeah.
Like I've had to before that. So the night when Haley was, so Haley was 1, we did a massive event, like a public event. Because I was all into sponsorship marketing. I flew to Chicago, met all these people who do like the Olympics and the World Cup and all this stuff. And I learned how to do all this stuff. And so I was doing local events, like public events. I was like, we should do one for ourselves, And I was very ballsy. And I remember I was 29 years old walking into a big corporation saying, I'm going to do this event. It's called Family Fest. And you're going to sponsor it. It's going to be awesome. I remember Chrysler said to me, well, it sounds like a great concept. It's right in our target. Like you're hitting exactly who we want to meet with, but we really can't work with you until you're the size of a convention center. So I was like, don't challenge me, So I remember coming home and we were like going to have it like at some community college gym. Like we were just going to have like trade show booths or whatever, And I said, Steve, I think we need to rent some convention centers or at least one. And he's like, what? I said, yeah. And do the math. Like if we could sell 1 trade show booth at 1 convention center, if we sold them 2 more, like a package of 3, we could make 3 times as much money. It'd be so great. So we did the math, whatever. And he's like, okay, he's just so sweet. Just goes along, Okay, Mary figured it out where he doesn't know I'm just making it up. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So I remember walking back into Chrysler and saying, okay, you asked what you asked for, you got it. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you said you would work with us when we had a convention center. We have 3, Anaheim, Los Angeles, and Long Beach. They're all within 6 weeks of each other. And I need you to be a sponsor and give us a car. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, so it's gonna be great. And I'm like, talking really fast. And so finally, he's like, okay, fine. You got yourself a car. I said, but wait a minute. We now have 3 convention centers. So do you think we should give a bumper out of the first one, the car doors at the second, and the trunk on the third? Or maybe she give us 3 cars. I think that'd probably be better. Let's do 3 cars. And he's like, he was just so shocked that,
Yeah.
that I was like, anyways, he just like agreed to get me out of his office. I was like, oh, whatever. So we did this massive event. Well, it was like, cut to the end. And I did a Sue talk on this, by the way. I bombed. I mean, the event was awesome. The people who were there loved it, but we lost everything. Like we went bankrupt. We had to move. Like I was taking care of my grandmother at the time because we couldn't afford to live in a house. It's just one thing after that, boom, boom, boom. It's like guy was like slam, 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 And so at that time, like I had no way we couldn't restart. Like we were living in Long Beach in my grandmother's little house. She had just passed away in my arms. I had so I had to go get a job is my point. But I remember Steve stayed home with Haley. She's now 27. He stayed home. I cried every day having to go to work because I had to leave her for 8 hours. And I just remember sobbing. And so we moved and we closed. And I remember somebody said to me, we were looking for a house and because we had a bankruptcy, I remember one person said to me, we don't rent to people like you.
Oh,
Oh, I was like, oh, I'm like, I'm a good person. I work really hard. And so like, it took 10 years. We paid everybody back, it's like, but I remember working this job and I was like, I'm miserable. I miss my own business, like whatever. So when I got pregnant with Cameron, who's now 23, I remember calling all my old clients because I went through a depression because I was a big fat loser, right? Because I lost everything and I couldn't hold together. And, even though we were paying everybody back, I still in my head, that's whole psychological thing. But I remember saying, I have to get back to my own business. Like I was keeping a couple clients like on the side, like I work weekends or nights or whatever, just so I could keep my business going. I said, I have come back full time. I have a new baby coming. I can't do this. I can't, please, I'll scrub your toilets. Like I'll do whatever it takes to get back to doing my business. And I'm surrounded by angels all the time. And, they're like, oh my God, let me refer you. But, people are picking up phone calls. I started getting these accounts and boom, we were back in business. But that's the thing. Even though like I had a job, it didn't seem like that was my path. Like I always had my business. The job was just a means to the end or whatever you say that.
yeah.
So I didn't ever think there was another option than having my own business. Like it was like, what? Like, yeah.
It's in the blood.
It's in the blood. Yeah. And I remember being shocked that they would pay me, I'm like, every 2 weeks I get a check without, really? That's crazy. Like you just give money out.
Right.
It was weird. Anyways, I went off on a tangent. What I'm saying is I don't really talk about this stuff very much, is that in my head, it was kind of surreal having a job because I was a business owner.
Right. But you did it, but you knew in your heart of hearts and in your mind that the business, you'd have a business again and you held on to that. And I think with entrepreneurs, it's like, we're just a different breed. And we know even if things fall apart and we go and we have a job for a while, it's temporary and then we're back. And
it's okay. It's okay to, like I had to feed my family. Right. And then like halfway through it, Haley was old enough to go to Montessori school. So we put her in that, then Steve got a job and we were both miserable because we love being creative and making stuff up. And then clients saying, heck yeah, that sounds great. Figure it out, and then that's what we did. And so, and we still work together. Like Steve started a year after I started the business in 88, he joined me in 89, and I can't imagine not working with him, like, to bounce things off of. And anyways,
you're a pretty cool married couple. That's not for everyone, but for some people, you guys make it look easy and you're just beautiful.
Well, we definitely have our fights, like, because I'm a little, I don't know if you can't quite tell, I'm a little bossy.
What?
And I'm lucky to marry a man who's like even keel and happy wife, happy life attitude. So I'm lucky that way. So if he had a big personality too, I don't think it would work.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, we marry our balance. So, okay, cool. So just to put a, like, I think part of the message in this, especially during this very interesting time in the world, is there's no shame in, like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, there's going to be times when you're either going to go bankrupt, you're going to lose everything, you're going to lose a lot of money. Like, there's going to be times when things are hard. And that's where you get to make a decision. And sometimes the decision is I'm going to get a job for a little bit and then I'm going to come back. Or sometimes it's like, we're just going to eat ramen noodle for 2 years and figure this out and get through it. And there's always a way through it. And also, like, I want to ask you this, and then I want to talk about, we got to talk about mobile marketing. What were the gifts? What were the gifts in going through that with the business? What were the gifts, or what did you learn, or what was different after it that maybe you wouldn't have changed or shifted had you not gone through the hard pieces of that?
Right. Realizing that everything would be okay. I think sometimes we think, it just gets in front of us and we have this like fear and it makes us stop. But it's like, if you realize that, you know what, stuff happens and happens to everybody. And that's where like reading inspirational books and, talking to other people who might have been in the same situation, or people who like you're a coach, or you're like, oh my God, I went through this and, I persevered. It's going to be okay. Just having that hope that it's going to be okay. And you know what? Life might be hard, but anything that's worth it is hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Right. And when it's harder, it's almost sweeter, because then the victory, I remember coming out of this depression that I didn't realize I was in, because again, big fat loser. Remember, that was my a crown, big fat loser in my head I was wearing. I remember we moved to Corona. I had quit the job, started, back in business full time, just had my baby. He was like 3 months old in my arms. And I was showing my friend a house that my father helped us. He helped us with a down payment so we could buy a little house. And I remember going, oh my gosh. And I was showing her the rooms. I'm like it was a little teeny little house, and like 1,200 square feet. And she goes, oh my God, you're back. And I was like, what do you mean back? Like, we just drove up together. Like, it was like such a weird thing. She goes, no, you're back. She goes, you've been gone for like 2 years. And I was like, I see you every week. And she's like, no, sweetie. She says, that spark was gone. Like, it was sad. Like, we just held on to you and kept, and it was like, in that moment, I was like, oh, like, and then I remember going and talking to people like, have I been weird? Is there something wrong? And they're like, yeah, but it's okay. We knew you'd get through it. Like, but I had people around me that were encouraging and telling me that, you know what, everything's going to be fine. This is just a little hiccup on the road and God's got you and everything's going to be, it's like, and yeah, we ate top ramen. I had boxes of food delivered from churches, and that was great food, by the way.
I guess I believe it now.
And so now, like, it's important to me to pay it forward, right? People who bless me, like, how can I help someone who maybe is just starting out or is looking for an opportunity? And, like what we did, I was telling a little bit about Flag. It's like, how can I help someone else get the leg up or continue to have the hope? Like, I'd have restaurants texting me saying, I can't make payroll. And we would, we'd have donations from the community to be able to pay them so they could deliver food to our frontline heroes, police, fire, hospital workers, senior care centers. And it was such a joy to be able to give them something just to hang on one more week to get over that hump, right? And it's like those are the kind of things that bring you joy. So like, you can work for anything you want. Everybody has to have a why. But when you think of how you can serve others and lift others up, right? The rising tides lifts all boats. Yeah. It just brings you so much joy that you almost forget. It's like childbirth, right? It hurts a lot, but you don't remember it when you have that baby in your arms. Like, God, like, takes away the pain. So the same thing, when you start paying forward and really getting to that why, like, you forget all the garbage that you went through in the top ramen you ate, it's all worth it.
It's the best. It's the best, right? We have so many of our clients who it really is about writing the big fat checks, but you can't write the checks if you don't grow your revenue. So quantum revenue expansion with our phones. We're talking about how to make money with the phone. I want to make sure we do that. And then I know you have something for our clients, but
I've been talking so deep today. Oh my goodness.
No, that's what happens on this show. Like we go there. How do we make money with our phones right now? And let's start with this. What are some of the myths, some of the lies, some of the misinformation out there about mobile marketing that you wish everyone would just let go of? Let's start there.
Well, I don't hear it as much anymore, but people used to say, well, I'm really worried about bugging my customers.
I'm sure that that's still a little bit. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So because mobile marketing is, I mean, if you use a reputable company like Brilliant Mobile Messaging, you literally can't do that. I mean, again, you can send them a text every day. And if they think they're only getting 2 messages, and you send them 300, that obviously they're not going to like that. But they're opting in to get what you have. So, if it's a consumer-based product like frozen yogurt or pizza or something like that, obviously it's natural. Or if you're a coach and you want to use it for accountability, I always tell the story of this psychologist that came to me. He was a brain trauma therapist.
Okay.
And his challenge was he was getting frustrated because it was hard to move the needle, because when he would do therapy with someone, their brain trauma, so they couldn't remember to do, it's almost like PT for the brain, right?
Yeah.
So he would always felt like he was starting this process over every time. And on the other side, the insurance companies needed to have some kind of proof that he was actually doing something to move the needle to get them better. And so he was like, I said, how about we set up we call them text funnels, but email, like a sequence of messages based on the prognosis. There's going to be different exercises, right? And so literally he would put a new customer into the system. And then on day 1, day 3, day 5, day 12, day 15, whatever his prescription they needed, they would get the same messages, right? And so then we would then clone that sequence if it had a different kind and tweak a couple things. But it basically as simple as they would a text to say, go outside and look to the sky and say something out loud that you're grateful for, and click on this link and tell me what it was.
Wow. Right.
And then the next day it was like, now it's time to read this article and give me, and so there was accountability. There was just a refresher. Some days it was just, you're beautiful inside and out. It's a little message. But they would get this thing. And all of a sudden he was seeing that his patients were actually getting better. And then he had proof to get paid by the insurance agencies too, that these are the messages that are going out. This is the links that were clicked. This is the amount of time they were spending on these assignments. This is their prognosis now, blah, blah, blah. So, it was a really cool thing. So coaches have been coming to me saying, hey, I just want to be able to let people know like when they need to check in for, seminars or master classes or accountability calls or whatever. And so we use it for that. But it's like, there's so many different ways to use mobile. And the difference is that it's just something that gets through the clutter.
Yeah.
And it's appreciated.
Yeah. So I love it. So what you're saying is you can use it for marketing, which I still want to talk about, and you can use it to stay in touch with your current clients or current customers in a really beautiful way, or in coaching or for therapists to even have that as part of their process.
Right.
So then thank you. That's a cool story. And the fact that they started to get better even faster, I'm sure from an accountability perspective, that makes so much sense. And since we live on these phones, from a marketing perspective, like what's one of your favorite success stories? We heard Kawasaki back in the day when you were first going. Like more recently, what's one of your favorite stories about putting a mobile marketing, what's the word? Not program, mobile marketing
campaign.
There's the word. Thank you. In place, and some of the results that maybe your client got.
Yeah. Well, we have a little Mexican restaurant that when they first started with us, they probably had 7 or 8 little, they had one full, one sit down store and then like 6 fast food. Now they're up to like 22. So they started with us probably 5 or 6 years ago, and they've grown their list to 70. I think they have 78,000 people on their list, all segmented by store. Okay. So when they're about to open a new store, we have like geofencing, which is just basically technology saying where people are when they get a message. So we could actually send out a message to the people who had opted into the stores in a 5-mile radius around this new location, sending them basically to the location with the bribe of a free burrito, which cost them, 25 cents or whatever. So they slowly grew, and they have, like I said, very segmented markets based on, and there's other things we can do. So we know who likes burritos and who likes tacos more and who likes enchiladas, which is all really the same food, just mixed up differently. If you think about it, right? I don't know if you miss California Mexican food. Yeah.
I do. I'm getting hungry right now just talking about this.
Yeah. And so anyways, but what was cool is during COVID, they didn't miss a beat. Because they had this list, they were able to say, we're open, we're clean, we deliver, here's a mobile menu, boom, boom, boom. Where a lot of the other restaurants who didn't have that benefit, they were scrambling. They didn't know, like, we're going to let people know, whatever. And they were, of course, suffering because of it. And that's why we started Flag. But it brought so much joy to me that we could help this company grow and flourish. And then during COVID, literally make more of a profit because they were the ones saying we're open where other people weren't. So they got the lion's share of the business. So that was kind of a cool thing that happened. And when Facebook went down, I think, I don't know the date.
Oh, yes.
October 13th or something, for 5 hours, people were losing their minds. I'm like, remember back in the day?
I loved your marketing that day. That was so great. Yeah.
Oh, you got it. That's awesome. Yeah, I spent the full 5 hours sending out emails and texts saying, hey, look what you. Yeah. So people were actually texting me saying, thank you, Mary, for making, because sometimes I'd be like, you're not using it. Which once I don't know if it was you or another coach once told me, like, it bothers me when people don't use our software. Like they buy it, they're paying for it. I want them to use it because I know it will bless them and they'll make them money. So when they're not using it, I'm like, So I remember a coach once told me, Mary, do you think Bill Gates sits up at night and worries that you're not using Word enough? I'm like, good point. Good point. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, but people would text me saying, thank you for encouraging me to grow my list and do all the things. And so that was nice because it was down. And so I was basically saying, use social, and that's the other service we provide. We provide social media to promote your mobile number. So you can build that list because we don't own social media, even though we think it'll always be there no matter what. We have no control over it. And if somebody shuts it down, I mean, it's probably going to come back, but you never know. You have to be able to own the list. So if you ever want to sell your business and you say, here's a business A that has all these wonderful things, but no way to contact their customers. And this business who has 5,000 customers who are eager to buy the minute you send out a text, this one might be worth a little bit more, So I'm always like, look down the road as an exit strategy, build your list of people who know, like, and trust you so you can offer it as an asset in the sale of your, anyways.
No, that's a huge point that you just made for our listeners all over the world. Having a mobile empowered list that people have opted into is really what you could sell. That would be an asset where people be like, oh yeah, you can actually sell your company now, because a lot of people worry about, like, what are the assets? So, well, Mary, you and I could chat all day. We've already had the pre-show before the show, and it's just good to see you and be in your energy. I know you have some things for our listeners. So 2 things: if you have a free gift, and then if someone's like, oh my gosh, like, I have a restaurant, I need to talk to Mary. Like, what are the next steps to connect with you?
Well, then go to our corporate website, which is anotherbrilliantidea.com, because everyone needs another brilliant idea. And there is a report that you can download. It's top 10 tips for texting success or something. And basically, do this, don't do that, which gives a little insight, even if you don't use our service. And if you want a free account, and we actually give away a free demo, 30 days. You don't have to even put your credit card in for the software to set it up. You can go to brilliantmobile.com. You can also find it through the link at Another Brilliant Idea, of course, but brilliantmobile.com. And you don't have to have a restaurant. Any business can start it. We have a DIY program, which is basically $47 a month. So inexpensive. We just really want people to put their toe in the water and start, because eventually they'll realize, dang, I make a lot of money with this. We want people to make a lot of money. And then we also have a done for you program called Texting Funnels, where we set everything up. It comes with like 10,000 text credits, and we do all the work, and you basically just have to look beautiful and show up and people will buy from you. So that's another program that we have. And then something I'm going to be launching in 2022, which I just thought of, and we didn't talk about this before, is that with all the pivoting that people are doing, businesses, maybe they don't want to go back, or they want to start their own business. Maybe they have an agency, but are looking for something else to offer. We're going to start reselling our software like as white label. And we're coming up with a course called Mobile Marketing Mastery, where we're going to basically teach you how to get customers, how to use our software, how to promote it, how to do different things. And it'll come with the ability to either, you could sell Brilliant Mobile as that title, or you could name it for your own business and have it be, quantum texting or whatever, but it would be yours. And so this software has blessed us so much in the last 13 years, paying us. We have customers who pay us anywhere from $47,000 to $6,000 a month because of the volume of text they send out. So that's something that people who decide who want to buy the service, or offer the service, I should say, they can have that same blessing, a monthly income that would help their business. So we just wanted to pay that forward as well. So we're excited to launch that again in 2022.
Yeah.
I just need to do it. I've been talking about it.
Well, this is the accountability. This is the place for accountability. So there you go. And we're going to hold you to it. You've said it publicly. We're going to send it out all over the world on YouTube and all the places. So
yay.
Millions of people have heard you say it. So we'll hold you to that. If someone wanted, for example, the texting funnels and they used a special code like Ursula and they emailed you directly, could they get a little special something?
Yes, I will make that happen. I will definitely give them like a 25% off. Just for you.
Said here. I will put that in. I don't get anything for that, just so everyone knows, but we'll put it in the show notes. We just want to take care of people. And, if this is something you've been wanting to try, Mary's the person to do it with. So Mary, thank you. Mobile Mary, love you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. It was so good to, we're so funny. If people could have heard our front end conversation, we talked so fast. I think we covered 3,000 topics from kids to the world to the pandemic in about 30 minutes. So good to see you. Thanks for being here.
It's so good to see your face. Seriously, it just brings me so much joy to see your face. And, I love you. Thank you.
Love you too. And you were such an inspiration. You probably don't even know this, not only as a business owner, but as a mom, watching you with your kiddos and Steve on Facebook and knowing you guys and just all the things. So thank you for being a great model of parents and, husband and wife.
I haven't screwed him up too bad. So that's good.
You taught me that it's okay to be okay, just be who we are and everything's going to work out. So that's
I always told him I wasn't saving for college, I was saving for therapy. So,
Awesome. Love you so much. And for our listeners all over the world, I hope you enjoyed the show today and got some laughs and some inspiration and some information that'll help you grow your business next year. Thanks for being here. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.